What do you do when the thing you thought was your passion, your soul's work, your reason for being here suddenly feels like you're rolling one of those giant balls of cheese uphill? Maybe you built a business around it. Maybe you sacrificed years to get here. Maybe you told everyone at Thanksgiving and on Instagram, I'm following my passion. And now you're finding every possible way to distract yourself from doing the thing. It could be that the thing you're doing isn't sustaining you anymore, whether it be emotionally, energetically, or financially. Maybe the passion fizzled out, or maybe just one area of your business is just not lighting you up anymore. Or it could be you're ready to pack your bags and go eat, pray, love. So today we're pulling apart the myth of the passion business and what in the world you do when your so-called purpose either stops lighting you up or just straight up isn't paying the bills. I'm sharing a real client story so you can see how this truly plays out in real life, what alignment actually feels like, and how your purpose might not be what you thought. My goal for you is to come out of this knowing if follow your passion has become a trap for you, 4 signs it might be time to pivot in your business, and how to actually make that pivot. Welcome back to Rebrand Your Brain. I'm your host, Michelle Rebel, strategist and coach, here to help you see your genius, own it, and build a business and a life around it. Let's have some fun. All right, guys, are you actually doing what you want to be doing or what you thought you wanted to do? Now, this could be just a small pivot that has to happen with something that's been draining your energy in the business. Or maybe you're finding yourself fantasizing about shutting it all down and starting something totally different. Or maybe you're ready to pack your bags and go full on eat, pray, love. Well, the thing is, good news is, this is the perfect time to make the change. And yeah, I'll say any time is the perfect time to make the change that needs to happen. But it actually is written in the stars right now, which we won't get into. But sometimes this pivot is just not at all what you expected. But the thing is, it is the thing that can set you free. So let's talk about it. First, true story. A while back, one of my past clients, Andrea, sent me a text out of the blue. And this text said, "It's official. I just closed the LLC." Then something like, "It feels amazing, like this huge weight has been lifted." Okay, so not what I was expecting. And you can imagine me, her once business coach. She was actually in one of my programs. We're going to have so much fun. And my goal is for you to learn if follow your passion has become a trap for you. 4 signs I see happen. It has to be about what they want. And although it can feel like a huge fail on our parts, maybe it's not that at all. Kind of like objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Anyway, that's a topic for a different episode. But for now, listen to what happened next. So first, it's important to know that Andrea's business back then was something near and dear to her heart, or so she thought. I'm not going to spill the beans on all of this yet because she's agreed to come on to the podcast and give you all the juicy details herself. And I think it's something that is going to be so immensely helpful for so many people to hear it from her. But what you need to know about Andrea is that she comes from this background of pharmacy. She's a clinician and she was a pharmacist for years. She shifted from being a pharmacist to having her own business where she eventually, it went through many iterations, but eventually she really kind of tuned into becoming a patient advocate. And that's the business she was running. And that's how she was marketing herself and all of the things. So Andrea decides to close the business, but she didn't exactly quit. She and her husband started another business, which is short-term rentals. So they invested in a great property, actually in Asheville, which is where I live. And, I'd been hearing about this from her for a while and everything was seeming to go really well. But we did have a conversation a couple of weeks ago and it was really enlightening for both of us, actually. And she called me because she wanted to share this whole new awareness that she had. So based on this conversation, here's what I now know is that it turns out this new business, this pivot she made, ticked a lot of boxes for her. One, she's enjoying it and it's interesting to her. It stimulates her mind without overstimulating it. Her words exactly, meaning it didn't put her into this complete fight or flight mode like the advocacy business did, which required her to market herself and be her own brand, which, if you've done this, you know that has a million challenges. The other thing is she's seeing a positive outcome, as in a financial reward that she's happy with. And in terms of the marketing, it really did feel good to hear her say that she was able to take what she learned with me throughout the time we were working together, all about business and marketing, and apply it to this business. So another aside, that actually was a nice little pat on the back for me. But lastly, she's good at it. So she is basically in total alignment with this business, but how completely unexpected for her and for probably a lot of people who know her. What happened is she realized maybe I can just do something that pays, like that doesn't have to be all blood, sweat, and tears. So again, I invited Andrea to be a guest on the podcast, so you'll hear more from her. It's going to be so good. But in processing all of this, the biggest realization for her really was that she wasn't in love with the work she used to do anymore. I'm talking about this today because Andrea is not the only one I'm hearing this from. I'm hearing it from a lot of people in a lot of spaces, specifically a former client, another former client I spoke with recently feels like the podcast they once loved and felt really inspired by was feeling more like a huge drain now and just had taken on this different form. So all of this has gotten me thinking, is it that we're just in love with the idea of being the person who does this kind of work specifically, or who has that kind of podcast, et cetera, et cetera? And why are we all out here, including me at times, blindly worshiping at this altar of follow your passion or digging our heels into something we loved once, but maybe just don't anymore? So let's talk about this passion myth, because honestly, it can turn into a downward spiral. And sometimes it might be conditioning in a sparkly costume. So here's why follow your passion can be bad advice. Now, listen, I'm the first one to admit I have been waving this passion biz flying flag, whatever, for a long time. Do what you love, right? But here's the thing, there are some holes in this. So first of all, not everyone is wired to need to love what they do. Full disclosure, I am. It's a non-negotiable for me. I literally short circuit without it. Like, I'm not just here to do a good job. I'm here to fall in love with it, then make it so deliciously good, it almost feels like I've made this deal with the gods. Can I have it all in the things that I do? No, of course not. But if the bulk of my work is something that feels soul sucking or just meh, right? And my energy will drop. It's like I run out of charge. I lose my voice, my drive, definitely any magnetism. And I start asking, what's wrong with me? When the real answer is, well, I'm bored or I'm exhausted. But there are plenty of people, maybe you're one of these, for whom it might be a nice to have. Like, to love what they do is nice, but they don't really need it to function. Some people are here to build stability. Some people are here to experiment, dabble, jump around. Some are born pattern disruptors. See if you're recognizing yourself in any of these, by the way. And some genuinely find satisfaction in just getting shit done, whether or not it sets their soul on fire. And I know that I personally need meaning, passion, and something that gets me so excited for my work and for life. Otherwise, I'm just kind of like this visionary with an exhausting to-do list and basically like an adrenaline addict. So this is something I very much learned about myself when I delved into my human design, which is why I now bring this human design aspect to a certain degree into the work that I do with clients. And we even offer business human design readings with partner coaches. So if you're curious about that, look at the show notes. And also, I invite you to go listen to episode 2, where I'm talking with Jaji Ives all about human design and business. And it's a fascinating episode. Anyway, back to this. In Andrea's case, based on her human design, which, by the way, she doesn't really know to the extent that I dug into this because I was very curious. But what I know about her is that she does need to do what she loves, but not in the same way as me. Her version of doing what she loves might look like poking the bear, blowing up systems, and fixing things. And she literally has this unique ability to see what's broken instantly. Like she can walk into a room and go, okay, that's toxic, that's outdated, that's about to blow up, that's a walking red flag in a skirt. She is the queen of mental frameworks. Also, she notices flaws, but she's also creating like this whole thesis in her mind of why they exist and how to fix them. Like she's got the Google Doc with the bullet points and the receipts and the logic and all of that, which fascinatingly, this is so much a part of what attracted her initially to the healthcare system because, fixing what's broken. And also, what she's knowing now is that she's using these skills, her unique ability in the Airbnb business as well. All of it's just fascinating. Anyway, she's kind of this mad scientist of dysfunction, and she's here to make things right. So, all that to say, when it comes to following your passion, not everyone is wired to need to love what they do in the same way. So that's part of this whole passion myth deconstruction. Second thing is passion is mutable. It isn't static. So what lit you up last year may bore you to tears now. The thing that you decided to devote yourself to in your 20s, even if you are still passionate about it, I'm guessing has drastically changed, 10, 20, 30 years later. The third thing about this passion myth is just because something is noble doesn't mean it's the path for you. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. So passion is often mistaken for purpose and purpose for obligation. What I mean is I often see how passion gets confused with conditioning. And it begs the question, where did this passion actually come from? Is it that it's noble, air quotes, work, or did it come from family expectations, the sparkly shoulds? All of this stuff can run really deep. What we label as noble or purposeful can be rooted in approval, identity, or obligation. So this concept of noble work can have a lot of holes in it. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to monetize it, except I do believe you can if you want to. I can show anyone their path to do that, but you have to want to on a deep level and be willing to do the thing that it requires or the things that it requires. What I do believe is that our goal, at least for my people, our goal is to make the world a better place, to be a positive energy in all of this mess. And sometimes that just means doing the right thing, living honorably, being in integrity. But if you're going to stay stuck and miserable and not honoring your truth and your authenticity and what you truly desire and deserve, you're going to hit a wall and reach a limit to how much good you actually can do and how much of a positive force you actually can be. And the thing is, there's this misconception about what's noble, what's purposeful. Listen, you can be a stockbroker and do good in the world and make a positive difference for the people you serve. One of my colleagues and former clients specializes in conscious investing. She's a financial planner and she helps people to make socially responsible investments. You can literally do good in anything that you do. This is what I'm talking about. You can clean houses and be doing good in the world. If you absolutely love cleaning and you love creating beautiful spaces and you love managing somebody's home and you love the feeling of how it sparkles after you've cleaned up all of the mess and you're fixing things, well, you know, call me up because you can have a great business running a home cleaning service, which, by the way, is in high demand because, quite honestly, there aren't enough great ones. And it's kind of like just like therapists and hairdressers. Have you noticed? They're always booked, they're always full. There aren't enough. Anyway, the point is that this is all about you becoming the most authentic version of yourself and you growing and evolving into that. That's not just something that we get so easily handed. We have to go through our journey in our path on our discovery and our challenges. Otherwise, we'd get really bored. One thing to watch for is that I see a lot is the self-criticism that can come into play when there's something that we should be doing, feel like we should be doing, but it's not working, and then we criticize ourselves for it. If the goal is to be truly aligned in the work that you do, what you're really here to do and who you're really here to be can take a million different forms. It takes experimenting to find out what that is for you, what aligns for you based on your true genius, on your excellence, on your experience, and yes, on your true passions. But when it comes to the passion, it may be important for you to remove this a bit from the literal passions that you have so you can pull this apart and dig into it. So think about it this way. What is it that you're really doing when you're doing the thing that you're most passionate about? It's tricky because it doesn't always look like what our brains can understand it to be, because again, that can be tied to our conditioning. Like, we don't know what we don't know. We can't read the label from inside the jar. It's also why it's so helpful to have someone like a coach who can help you to see it so clearly. If you want to dip your toe in, by the way, I do have a 90-minute strategy session that you can sign up for. This is very doable, and I will add the link to the show notes if you're curious about that. Okay, so when we talk about purpose versus calling versus passion, all this stuff can get really kind of theoretical and existential and very confusing. So I just want to note a few things. First of all, I believe your purpose is often confused with your calling, and I believe that your calling is something that changes throughout your life. I don't think that your purpose necessarily changes, but it does change form. Purpose is something that's really, it's almost like an ethereal concept. It's something that is less about what you do than how you do it. So to use Andrea's big pivot as an example, her purpose didn't necessarily change when she decided she was done with this advocacy business and started the short-term rental business. What changed was the way in which she was operating. So instead of marketing herself and her own brand 90% of the time, which she really hated, she's actively doing the things that she loves and that make her feel good. They just look different. So it really does tick all the boxes of what she enjoys and is good at. What she's doing is interesting to her. One of the things specifically is, she really cares about people. She gets to do that in these beautiful spaces that she creates for her guests because she's very intentional in creating these spaces, and it's like she puts a lot of energy and attention to it, and that's what differentiates her from like a lot of other people who have Airbnbs, for instance. Like, she's very intentional in every single communication she has with her guests. She gets to fix things. She loves fixing things that are wrong. That is just like in her DNA. And in healthcare, that's exactly what she did. Now she does it with this business. She literally makes something right for people. And she loves doing it right. And guess what else? She makes money. And she still has to market, yes, but it's very different. As I mentioned earlier, it's very different to market yourself than to market your short-term rental, like by a million miles. So for Andrea, right, she could keep trying to fix this broken healthcare system, but her soul, she figured out from doing this that in this business, she's using the same gifts. It's literally comes down to for her service, care, and detail. And it eliminates all of the heaviness of everything else from the other business, which was really weighing. Which brings me to these agreements that we make. We make these agreements with ourselves, with others, with society, with our parents. These are not obvious signed agreements, so they're hard to catch. But it's really important to revisit these agreements because we don't even think about it. Oftentimes, we're blindly following those old shoulds. And also, something to note is that if you're feeling that there's some kind of pivot necessary, it might also be an internal shift that needs to happen. It's not always like, oh, I'm going to completely throw my business away and do something else and pack my bags and go eat, pray, love. This doesn't necessarily have to do with the big obvious change that you're making. It can be like an internal change. Maybe it's something about the way in which you're working, the things you're doing in your business, in your life, in your relationships, all of these things that could be negatively impacting your business or just, your way of life. So looking at what is it that really does need to shift. And sometimes it's a smaller, but oftentimes more intense internal change. The question that comes up have you been denying something to yourself? What do you need to surrender? Like finally surrender. Maybe it is something you're doing in the business. Maybe it's something internal. Okay, so let's bring this even more down to earth here, away from the existentialism and theory. How do you actually know when it's time to pivot? Because it's easy to think you're just tired, exhausted, you had a bad week, or it's just time to, tweak your funnel again. But sometimes you have outgrown the thing that you've built, and no amount of tweaking and fixing is actually going to make it fit again. So here are 4 signs, what we can call pivot pressure points, because I love naming something. 4 signs that it's time to make a move because what you're doing is just no longer serving you or it never really was aligned for you. 1, if you're feeling resentment or resistance, like a lot of it. So you don't want to show up for it anymore. You dread it. You secretly hope it gets canceled. This is beyond the fear that comes up, by the way, that is there to keep you safe, which you know what I'm talking about. That's a very different feeling. This is different. Number 2 is you just don't feel authentic. Maybe you don't feel an integrity to some degree. It could be that you're playing a role that no longer feels like you, or, you're scared to stop because that's actually how people know you. So it's really tied to your identity. And 3, if it's an energetic drain, meaning there's not an even exchange. So you give and give and give, and it's just not giving back. This could be financially, this can be in other ways. And the 4th thing is survival brain is driving the bus, and you're sitting there it's like you got your hands over your eyes like a toddler who thinks no one's going to see her if she just covers her eyes. So you're stuck in fight or flight, and the business has become a source of stress, not safety. If that's the case, there's a lot to look at there. So if any of these are resonating for you or speaking to you, it might be time to get really honest about figuring out what is the next chapter for you. And if this is the case, if any of these are true for you, what then? What do you do when you realize the thing that you built doesn't fit anymore? Let's have a quick pivot reality check here. So, okay, there's a move that you want to make. It could be big, like a whole new business, or it could be smaller, changing one thing about the way you've been showing up or not showing up to gain visibility. So it could be letting go of something like you have a podcast or something else that's been draining your energy, or maybe it's time that you want to start something new and you want to start speaking, or you want to write the book finally, or do more local marketing in your community because connection is something you're really missing. By the way, side note, there are so many ways of marketing yourself that do not have you relying on social media. Making a note right now to do an episode just on that. And, we'll make it a process episode, which is something that I've been wanting to add to the mix. It's more like how to. All right. So what do you do when you know it's time to pivot? How do you move forward without feeling either like you're throwing everything away or sending shockwaves to your nervous system so you end up in analysis paralysis or hiding out in a corner, or the worst thing ever, scrolling on Facebook because it's ugly out there, you know? So I want you to know that the number of pivots that I have made, big ones, smaller ones in my business, internal pivots, guys, that number is high. I have basically made myself an expert in this. If you follow human design, I'm a 3-5 profile, and that number 3 in the profile means I experiment a lot, and this is very true for me. And the thing is, this is good for you because what I bring to you is the results of all those experiments, aka mistakes, so you don't have to, let me not say fail right now, but fall in as many traps as I did, because we'll soon see it's not failure. I'll talk about that in a sec. So, all right, let's break it down. I think the top of mind thing is let the pivot be unsexy. Real change doesn't always come with the glitter and glam. And what I'm referring to is that, like in Andrea's case, for instance, sometimes this is about doing something that's sustainable and something that the people in your life actually see as sane, because I honestly just don't see a lot of partners, for instance, who are like, oh, you want to be a coach? Oh, and you're going to start doing videos online and joining a mastermind. And getting another certification, which you're going to get another loan to pay for. Fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, probably said no partner ever. But seriously, pivoting isn't just about changing industries or starting over. It is about letting yourself admit that the last chapter is done for you. And that has to come first. Andrea's story is a great example of this. Her pivot to short-term rentals gave her peace, purpose, and a profit. Without this very heavy emotional weight that she'd been carrying, working on really marketing the other business. And the thing is, on some level, at some point, this is going to feel like failure. Hear my words, okay? This is not failure. You've experimented, but you have not failed. Sometimes the ROI, the energy, the bandwidth, the fulfillment just isn't there anymore, and that's okay. So let's get off the labels and, like the labels that this is a boring choice or you're a quitter. That's a lot of shame talk and that's a lot of conditioning. So don't shame the air quotes boring choice if it gives you your life back. I mean, have a freaking celebration instead. Sometimes it's just about stripping away what no longer fits and keeping you functioning in your zone of genius as much as possible. It doesn't have to be blood, sweat, and tears. Maybe you can just do something that pays. And maybe that is the most aligned choice that you've made in a long time. And maybe you do the thing that feels nuts, that feels bigger than you, that scares your partner and scares you, but also really excites you because you've been dreaming about it, sometimes secretly. Sometimes you didn't even realize you were dreaming about it, but it's been there, kind of gnawing at you. So very important in the how-to part of this is reverse engineer the hell out of it. This is one of my favorite things to do. I just love a good plan. Honestly, it's part of my zone of genius for sure. And the secret is to go backwards. So reverse engineer all of this. You start with the vision and this ultimate goal, which you can also break down quite a bit. Then you lay out the steps that are going to get you there so you can clearly see it. Then you put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other, in front of the other. The trick is to see the trees and the forest because it's really easy to get lost in the weeds and only see the trees. But it's so important to keep the vision in sight. It's kind of like if you're driving and you've got your hand on the steering wheel and you're looking in front of you and you're in this present moment. You're looking directly in front of you where you are. You also have a map that you can zoom out and see the whole path. And that gives you really good perspective. It also shows you how far you've come. Meanwhile, you're also able to see out the rearview mirror, which also is showing you how far you've come. But beware of getting fixated of where you were before. That's the past. And you can't drive forward if you're just looking out the rearview mirror. The way that you get anything done, in my experience, and my groups have heard me say this a lot, is to have your eyes on the vision ahead, your feet planted firmly in practicality, and leading with your heart. Your heart is the soul alignment, which I think many people can ignore, but it's really a key to all of this. And I want you to know, you have permission. You're allowed to do something that feels easier. Okay. If you haven't given yourself that permission, like hear it that message coming through me to you. Okay. You do have permission. Like we love to be on the struggle bus. If we're struggling, then that's the good thing. That's the honorable thing. The two questions you can ask yourself to get clear on this. One is, what are you tolerating because you think you should, but it's actually compromising your value? And two, what would feel like a giant weight lifted if you let it go? And making the move and thinking about making the move, it all takes a lot of trust. And truly believing and trusting that the universe has your back. I think when we can trust that, everything starts to change. And the universe has your back when you're aligned, meaning the closer that you are to being your most authentic self. And I know I talk about that all the time, but that's so important. That's what alignment is. And the more your authentic self you become and show up as in this world, on this earth, then the more the universe is going to hold you up and help you keep going in ways that you can not only handle, but it is supportive and expansive. And it will be so surprising to you to see like all the help that you get. It comes out of so many different places. And this helps you to continue this absolutely magical journey that you're on. So that's what I have for you today. If this episode stirred something in you, maybe it's a gut check or a sense of relief, I want you to hear this. Again, you get to do something that feels easier. You get to let go of something that used to fit but doesn't anymore. This is how we evolve and grow. If you're craving clarity around your next move, or if you're just standing at the edge of this new thing and wondering if it is the right move for you, not based on someone else's strategy or influence, but on you, or you're not sure what to do next, how do you reverse engineer this whole thing? That's exactly what I support people through. And I've got a 90-minute strategy intensive where we can map out your next best step together, whether it's a small internal shift or this big, bold pivot. This is so powerful and so fun. It's a strategic deep dive, essentially, to get you unstuck, seen, and moving in a way that really honors you, your values, your vision, your genius. And if you don't know what your genius is, this is a great way to uncover it. Anyway, at the time of this recording, I have 2 spots available for this month that I know of. The link is in the show notes. I invite you to check that out. And if it feels aligned for you, go for it and hit me up with any questions that you have. And the final thing is, if you have not had a business human design reading, I invite you to check that out as well. I offer readings through my partner coaches who are vetted and they are incredible. They are quantum human design specialists, and what you learn about yourself you will not be the same when you leave this. So if you haven't done that and you're curious about it, I'll also include that in the links of the show notes. Meanwhile, remember, you don't have to do this alone, and I believe in you. And I really want you to believe in you because that makes all the difference. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Michelle Rebel, here to help women see their genius, own it, and build a business around it. I hope this episode sparked something for you. If it did, don't forget to hit subscribe and please consider leaving a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps more people to find the show. Plus, I'm going to pick a winner each month for a one-on-one with me. So to do this, you can go to Apple Podcasts, to my show, scroll to the section where it says write a review, write your review, take a screenshot, and send it to me. You can email it directly to hello@soullineceo.com. And a quick reminder that the Boss 3-month membership waitlist is officially open. You can get on the waiting list to lock in the introductory rate for September, which is when we kick off. This is a 3-month membership where we focus on very specific areas of your business, so there are no distractions. We're focusing on your brand and messaging, creating your absolute best offers, your visibility strategy, like how are you going to put yourself out there and that doesn't mean it's only on social media. It depends on you and who you are. There's not one strategy for everyone. And we also go into the sales strategy for enrolling clients into your offers. Again, it's a strategy that aligns for you, and I call this soul aligned selling. This is an amazing program with weekly small group coaching and co-working calls, so you get it done. You've got real support in a lot of different ways. You can find the link right in the show notes.
An inner knowing of the soul. An anchored confidence that is solid. No fight must be had, for the battle has already been won within.